Hello and welcome back to the HH Gaming Podcast brought to you by Hellhades.com. Today is the last episode that we're going to be putting out this year of the podcast. We're still going to be putting videos up on the channel. However, we thought it would be a nice idea to wrap up the season of podcasts. We've been producing this podcast since, I think it was June.
Wasn't it? May or June?
It was May or June that we did the first podcast, and obviously there's only a couple of weeks left of the year. We're incredibly busy with things with the Christmas Fusion and other stuff that we've got going on the website. So we thought, well, we'll wrap up the podcast for this year. We will come back in January, and we've got some crazy ideas for what we're going to be doing in January. So there's going to be some fun stuff going on then. We're going to up the production value of the podcast. We kind of threw it together as an idea. Initially, we were going to just put it out on Spotify. Then we started uploading it with video content as well. But moving forward, I think, we've got some very cool ideas, which we're not going to share at this point. But,
Super secret.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In development. But we think, we've got to the point now where we're incredibly pleased with the reception of the podcast. We've got 5,000 subscribers now on the YouTube channel, which is insane. So we thought,
not bad, is it?
It's not bad at all.
Couple of geeks on a computer screen.
Exactly. So I mean, we just thought, well, we'll come back next year. So probably the second week of January, I'm thinking, for the launch of season 2 of the podcast. And it will be a lot fancier than what you're seeing at the moment. So keep your eyes peeled for that one dropping. In the meantime, obviously, we are still going to be dropping videos on the channel. Paul's still going to be putting out the Science Club. And I've also got a plan for a load of video content, which I'm going to be putting out on the channel as well as things are starting to calm down or ramping up, to be honest. I'm lying. It's totally not calming down for us.
No, I don't know. We understand what calm is, really, do we?
No. I think since we came back from our Christmas party, we've just been flat out ever since. And yeah, it's a lot of work, but it is the Christmas season, and we are doing giveaways on hellhades.com. So first thing that we're going to do before we get into the actual podcast itself is draw the winners for the competition that we had running on the first week. Yeah, so
free stuff. Everyone loves free stuff. Free stuff here, free stuff on Hellhades channel, free stuff.
So I've got the competition here. What this does is it basically picks the winners out of the, I think it was 4,180 entries that we had into week 1 on the competition. If you guys haven't already seen, we have got week 2 and week 3 running. So week 2 you can enter right now. Week 3 will be up next week. All you do need to do is go over to the hellhades.com website, click on the featured article, which is about the giveaways, and there's multiple ways that you can enter. And it's basically all you need to do is go and visit our social media channels, and it will automatically enter you into the giveaway. While you're there, if you want to, feel free to subscribe, like, and stay in touch with the team through our social media channels. So let's jump in and have a quick look. So I'm going to click draw winners and see what happens. So
we need like some sort of computer sign.
Yeah.
Ding.
So don't allow repeat winners. People can only win once to make it fair. So this is going to draw 6 winners for the 6 prizes.
Ooh, 6 for 6.
Okay, so I'm clicking draw now. Let's see if this does it one at a time or whether I get a list. Let's see. Okay, cool. So I have got for the...
You sure you know what you're doing here now?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so for the custom Twitch emote, I've got Paul Pacey. Congratulations. For the feature in a Hellhades thumbnail, I apologize if I'm destroying people's surnames and things here, but I've got a Brad Zayas. So he has won the feature in Hellhades thumbnail. For the item from the Hellhades merch shop, we've got William.
We love merch. Merch is good.
We've got William Ruth for the coaching session. So we've got 3 coaching sessions. We've got Leslie. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce these surnames, so I do apologize, but we will be emailing you to let you know. We've got Leslie, ML, and Wormloaf, who were the winners of the coaching sessions. So if you guys did win, I will be contacting you via email. So make sure you check your email. And congratulations. And for those that didn't win, make sure that you jump in on the competitions, because there is 10 winners this week, and I think it steps up to 12 in the final week, but there's different prizes. So make sure you check out the website.
I gotta say, this is far less exhilarating than the marble race on the stream.
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry.
We're gonna have to work on this.
Well, so the announcement for this week was going to be on this podcast for the winners. The one for next week is on the Facebook page, so the winners will be announced on the Facebook page, and then for the final announcement, that will actually be done live on stream on Hellhades' final stream before the Christmas break. So I think it will be on the Wednesday for Christmas. I think we talked about it being the last day that he was going to stream, if he's actually able to get online.
If everything works, he doesn't break his house when he puts his green screen up and everything else that's going on.
Yeah, so everything's sorted in the house in the office. From what I can see, he's got his desk set up, he's got his computer set up. It's just the green screen, and we were waiting for a cable for the camera.
It's always a cable, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so basically we've upgraded Hellhades' camera system. So he's now running a very, very fancy Sony mirrorless system with a very fancy lens on it. So hopefully you'll be able to see all his imperfections in crisp detail.
Such a wonderful camera.
Yeah.
But we don't have the cable to make it work.
Yeah.
So you can see him much better soon, but right now you can't see anything.
Yeah, so as it turned out, we expected the camera cable to be the same as the one we previously had, and
that was fatal.
Yeah, unfortunately it
although it is quite ironic for him to finally become his favorite champion, faceless.
I watched the video that he put out yesterday. Actually,
someone put a comment on it. I thought it was hilarious today.
It was like watching an old school Hellhades.
It was video. A bit, yeah. It was kind of like this is a throwback.
Yeah,
before, I like harken to the days when it was just one guy thinking, I need to pay for my shard packs, make some YouTube videos. But yeah, he has now officially become his Volkswagen dealership faceless salesperson for Raid Shadow Legends. That was quite funny. It was a great comment, but I can't remember who put a comment on today's video on his channel, but it was very good. I liked it.
So moving on into the things that have been happening this week, we've had Hydra
this week.
We've had the Christmas fusion.
I should probably say to people, the reason why there hasn't been a patch notes video yet is because the patch was an absolute nightmare to analyze.
Yeah.
They've changed so many different things at the same time as changing things that haven't changed anything. So it's kind of like, if you think the way that we analyze things, like there's thousands of lines of code and they've basically changed objects within it, which don't actually intrinsically change the game, but obviously you've got to go through and analyze them. So I'm still working through all some of them, but I'm getting there. But there will be a patch notes video in a couple of days. Perfect.
I think I've stopped reading patch notes and I just wait for you to put these videos out now.
It's probably best. Get more detail.
Yeah, something's going to happen in the game, but Paul's going to tell me, so it's fine.
Because they've done a pretty bad job at explaining how the mechanics works. Like Mark of the Hydra ran, targets his champions. How? In what order? How can I control it? That's the information that players want to see.
My first day in Hydra, playing around with Hydra, I was trying to attest exactly that. So I put in a load of random attack-based champions put them on, and then got caught up watching your video that you put out on the channel, and found it that entertaining that I ignored the fact that I'd pressed go on my key on Hydra.
You left the key run, didn't you?
I did a grand total of 800,000 damage on my first Hydra key.
I'd love to say you're the only one that's done that, but I got a feeling 50% of the player base has wasted at least one key because they weren't quick enough. Actually, I was running a run yesterday. It just because I haven't used any of my keys yet. I'm a bit behind everyone else, which is ironic considering I did a full video where I had previews and everything. You think I'd be ahead of the curve. And I wasn't paying attention. And the chance of you getting a different head on normal is really low. It's like 1 in 4. So I wasn't paying attention. So that's just another head. I totally got the Head of Wrath back, didn't I? And I was just pinging away things, and Mischief was pinging things. I was like, oh, it'll be fine. All of a sudden, the Head of Wrath went and hit Vengeance with increased attack. I didn't have decreased attack, and I got absolutely annihilated. I was like, what the hell? I was quick enough to regroup quickly. But it's going to be difficult for a lot of players because, you know, we were talking in Dead with Jedi's community in sort of his mod chat about, you know, when all the heads were coming out bit by bit, we were expecting people to go, when's the Hydra boss calculator coming out, blah blah blah. And we actually, it's going to be very difficult to speed tune this because there is so much going on in one fight that you have to be aware of that are conditional elements that might or might not work. It's going to be very difficult to do. Like, obviously that we have set rotations, and obviously probably people feel it normal. It's like, oh, well, I don't have to worry about the two heads. But when you get to Nightmare, this is some of the stuff I'll cover in the patch notes video, where it's the actual stats. It's more than likely that you're going to get different heads rather than the same head come back. So that really, you end up in this position where it's like, you know, how can I tune for something that I can't guarantee? So, you know, one thing that I think the Mischief head is a lot worse than I had anticipated. You know, trying to get hex on that Mischief head to stay hexed is very difficult because of the cleanse head. So the Decay and Mischief together is a really difficult combination, because they're faster than the other heads to start with, and they're very difficult to keep under control. People like decreased speed is really, really valuable. Really helps to try and keep some of your debuffs up. But yeah, so I think speed tuning is going to be a long way away. There are elements that you can do within the fight to speed tune. So for example, because the bosses have set speeds, 9 times out of 10, at the current speeds on normal, the Mischief head will be the one that eats your champion. Just because of the way that it turns. Unless you kill the head, if it was kind of like all the heads remain alive, Mischief will be the one. And that's probably by design, by Plarium, because they want the worst head that you can't hit to be the one that eats your champion. However, if you have like a single target decreased speed, you could probably slow that head down, force the other head to take the champion in, and then obviously you don't have to deal with the hex mechanic. So there's little elements you can do with speed tuning, and you can slow them down. But like having fully unkillable teams feels like a pipe dream. It feels like it's not going to be possible. It's going to be very, very, very difficult to do.
Well, I mean, guess based on what people are doing at the moment, you know, disclaimer here, we don't know if this is going to get nerfed. You know, people are finding ways around not needing unkillable.
There's cheese strats.
Yeah,
that's the way to use. I mean, so I've seen a couple of content creators find this. I think a lot of the high end clans are doing it because they often find the easiest way to do it or the laziest way to do it. The strategy uses Shamael. Like I called Shamael as an MVP, and that's probably one of the most accurate things I've ever said in my life. He is a god for this encounter.
He is, yeah.
But people realize that they could, I don't really want to call it, it's not an exploit, it's just a weird mechanic interaction where, because the way the Torment head works, where it applies fear, and then that fear will then get cleansed by Shamael, and then he gives that champion turn meter when he cleanses them, but also counterattacks. If you have the Deterrence Mastery, which is 20% chance for you to counterattack if someone gets a sleep, stun, fear, true fear, freeze, I think it is, and maybe another one, probably petrification now I think works for that. If you have that on 6 champions, then obviously you've got like between them a very high probability that when someone gets a fear, someone's going to counterattack. So you end up in this kind of like yin-yang position of, oh, you've been feared, Shamael cleanses, counterattacks. Oh, Shamael's been feared, Shamael cleanses and counterattacks. Oh, he's filled the turn meter of your leader now, and they get like, say like you've got someone like Mother Sibel, she has an A1 turn meter fill. So every time she gets feared, she counterattacks, she gets turn meter, she fears, she gets. You end up in this position where the Hydra clan boss doesn't take a turn. And then when you start bringing in champions like Cupidus, who does a strong AoE A1. The first iteration I saw was Cupidus and Venus. And they were basically able to run infinitely without the Hydra heads taking a turn, so long as the fear head was up. Once the head of Torment died, you were in this kind of like waiting game. So I don't think it's going to work on Nightmare necessarily, because as I said, the chance of you getting the same head back is much lower, significantly lower than on normal. But right now, it feels like someone in player needs to go, right, deterrence can't work in this way. So there's a couple of ways they can fix it. They can either make it so that deterrence doesn't proc on fear, but considering they added fear into that, I don't think they'll do that. One thing they could do is put an internal cooldown on deterrence, so you can only do it once per turn of your character. It's a bit like Cardiel's counterattack passive, where he has to take a turn before you can get another counterattack.
Yeah, which I mean, I think is a logical. Yeah, I think that's a logical solution, and really, I mean, people who are using this strat may complain about it, but actually, I think that is a sensible fix.
They could also take away Shamael's turn meter, because a big part of it is Shamael will cleanse the fear, then give turn meter. Yeah. So if you imagine your champion, say someone like Jintoro is a good example. Someone pinged me this. I think Finn, member of the Finn clan, Big Hammer, sent me a message. He was like, have you tried it with Jintoro? Obviously, Jintoro is a passive where when he gets turn meter, he gets double the amount. So instead of it being like 15%, you almost get in, 15 plus 7.5, so about 21, 22% turn meter fill, right? So what he was finding was he put Jintoro in the lead. Jintoro would attack at a fear. That fear gets cleansed. He gets 22% turn meter back. So in the end, what he was getting was Jintoro was taking like 4 turns because he was getting so much turn meter back. So you could take the Shamael's turn meter away and just basically have it as cleanses fear, but just doesn't do the turn meter component. You could put a cooldown on the Shamael fear, but I think that's going to be horrendous for people, because I still think it's fine that Shamael cleanses the fear. I think what doesn't work fine is when people can continuously counterattack. The final thing they could do is they could take away counterattack, the fear from applying on counterattack. So when you counterattack, you can just not get feared. And I think that opens up another strategy then for people to use someone like Valko Martyr, or even Skull Crusher. So, but they have to do something. I don't think it's sustainable in its current model, because someone gave me a comparison with the Infinity Shield comp in Clan Boss.
Yeah,
where it was kind of like the same.
Yeah.
But in my eyes, it's like yes and no, because at least with the Infinity Clan Boss, you've got to work towards that.
It also came so much later in the existence of Clan Boss. It wasn't within a day.
Well, now you've got to think of what
just killing this to the point where they run out of turns and they have to end it.
Yeah. So the thing with the Infinity Clan Boss is, one, it only works with like 2 or 3 champions. Really, you 100% need Valk. Not Valk, sorry, Brogni.
Okay, yeah.
You 100% need, I would say, Krisk in there to make it work. And then you probably need what's her face? The ally attacker as well, who does debuff extension. I forget her name. Why have I forgot her name? Oh, this is really terrible of me. I'm normally so good with names. Oh, Lanicus. That's the one. Lanicus. Sorry, I just clapped. That was really loud. So the thing with the Infinity Comp is you need those 3 champions to really get value. Then you also need artifact quality. You can't just like throw anything on and hope for the best. You're going to need like reasonably good gear to make the Brogni work, to grow the shield. Brogni's build is quite hard. You need good, reasonable speeds. You need reasonable stalwart. You need reasonable damage. So it's not like you can just throw the 3 champions in and hope for the best. You still need to build around it. Reflex gear. You still need stuff like that. This is literally pick Shamael, find 5 of the champions with an AoE A1 with deterrence mastery, and just watch as the numbers go up. It's not hard. It's not dependent on what champions you have outside of Shamael. Yes, Cupidus works better. I saw a budget version someone sent me of Aboro, Scartosis. Who else was it? Battle Sage and Shamael with Cupidus, and I think there was another AoE A1 as well. Could be like someone's like Skull Crown or Sinacia.
One thing that I love about this is it's using champions which, I mean, they're good champions, but
are not meta.
They're not meta. No. I love that. I love the fact that people are digging out these champions which aren't the go-to champions for this kind of content, and they're building. It shows how intelligent this
community is.
It's crazy.
But it also shows how poor QA is done in Raid. Like, they figured this out in a day.
Yeah, that is scary.
Like, I could understand like something like Infinity Comp. They maybe decide, it's not neat. We don't need to fix it because of the nicheness of it, But if players within like 24 hours of having Hydra could figure out a way to basically break the whole mechanical purpose of the game, I feel like that should have been picked up in testing. And I am aware, like the patch notes, they already did a change to Shamael where it only works with one of them. So it's clear that it was on the radar that this could be an issue.
Yeah.
As I said, I feel like it's difficult. I don't feel like it's exploitive, but at the same time, it's a bit for me like the Bommel solo strats where I can see why players build it. It kind of is good that there is an option, but it's never been designed that you can basically do you shouldn't be able to do the hardest Bommel boss by basically picking a champion and solo win it. It's just not.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it takes the fun
principles
out of the fact that we've got this new flashy new content. It's a challenge, and oh wait, we can just ignore that challenge by chucking in these set champions. And actually, there's no point in trying to do anything better than it because it's already completely breaking it. And
a bit like another good example is Paragon with Agrath. I have the team for it. And
me too.
if they took it away from me, I'd probably be like, that's a bit annoying. But at the same time, I could totally understand because my level 50 Paragon can solo any difficulty of Agrath on any floor.
I know, it's insane. Yeah,
shouldn't be possible.
To the point where actually I don't even bother trying to work out another team for it because it's just like I just chuck Paragon.
Press auto, get a cup of coffee, come back, and like, oh look at that! I just did 90 or 110 Agrath hard. That was really difficult.
Yeah.
So I think in this example, like generally, I think players don't tend to change some of these strategies, but I think they have to in this example because I think it's a bit like when we had turn meter control on Doom Tower bosses. When that first batch of change came out and then everyone was just like, just run turn meter because it's so easy they can't take a turn.
Yeah.
It's kind of that scenario where if the whole mechanical structure of the comp means that the boss cannot operate in any function, I've seen teams that have basically gone over 2 minutes before the Hydra clan boss even gets a turn doing 10 million damage, 5 million damage in one turn of your own team. I think that's just defeating the purpose and point of the difficulty, and it should be changed.
And I think as
but
well
not
as
to
that,
remove Shamael. Shamael still has to claim sphere, in my opinion.
I think they fix the mastery.
Yes.
And that'll at least bring it down. It'll add RNG to it and things like that. And, I think as well as that, they've just dropped this new Christmas Fusion who, when I read through his kit, it's basically a tank for Hydra boss,
Well, it's a funny thing with that. Like when I saw the kit, I was talking with HG Senti, who I talk a lot with in terms of the math, who helps me out on a lot of, we often like talk about different ways of calculating things. And he was actually one of the main people pushing the other Hydra strategy or working it out and messing around with it and having fun with it.
Yeah.
And he was of the opinion that actually was a very good champ. And I was a bit like, I'm actually a bit like, is he even going to go into any of my teams? And I think I was probably a bit harsh. I like the fact it's an A1 decrease accuracy.
Yep.
That's nice. It's not AoE, which is a bit of a problem you have to work around. But it's nice. Does he replace someone like a Sylar in most content? Probably not. Does he replace even there are some other champions that I found that might be better for the accuracy component, but it's solid, it's kind of like for Bommel, he's good, but at the same time, he doesn't bring the freeze. So is he good enough for you to remove your entirety of your, like, if you're going to go for the decreased accuracy, that means you want to resist, which means everyone else needs to resist. Whereas right now, I think accessibility-wise for Bommel, people are either going to try the solo strategy or they're going to do like the Soda Dragon gaming option of like double Vogoth, double Vrask, and just heal your way through it, which is a much less like artifact heavy, is less because you don't need all the resistance.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure whether or not he adds much to that, because what he doesn't do is he doesn't freeze on attack. So the dread bombs, the way it works is the freeze has to be on the dread bomb before it goes off, and his freeze only applies when he gets attacked. Yeah. So effectively you can forget the freeze for dread bombs, which is not ideal, but it's nice that it's a guaranteed. And I think for people who don't have Brogni, he's much better. If you lack some of what you tend to find, and one of my in the last video, like what a lot of people probably notice is the block debuffs champions are all void legendaries. Cardiel, Siphi, Blind Seer, they're all void legendaries with the exception of Brogni, who's a fusion, but obviously some people didn't do it. So having a 2-turn,
included.
Yes, you included. So so for your account, for example, you haven't got a Siphi or a Duchess, have you? Not a Duchess. Yeah. If you haven't got a Siphi, a Duchess, Blind Seer, or Cardiel, he's actually probably quite impactful for your account because he'll be the first champion that can do block debuffs 2 turns. Now, my gut tells me it'll be a 3-turn cooldown. I could be wrong.
After being booked, because it's 5 turns as standard, isn't it?
If we think the way Brogni
we don't know what he books to at the moment. That's not in the game.
If we think what Brogni was 5 turns, but booked to 3.
Yep.
So I think it will be a similar thing, which makes him very good. That like that A2 alone makes him very strong. Increased defense, block debuffs, 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Amazing. I just dislike that it's got crap parts of his kit. Like the reflect, you might as well forget about.
Yeah, that's a shame with that.
It's like, but
I mean, and to top it off, you know, from an aesthetic point of view, he looks like a damn champion.
Where's the art department? They always knock it out of the park, don't they? It does look like as well. We could probably do a little hint reveal here that it's probably going to be 4 rares, 4 epics, and a new legendary for the fusion. And I think there will be a void legendary as well, at least 1. I got a feeling there might be 2 void legendaries along with the fusion. One of those void legendaries will be what you use to empower Romantic 2. That's how I know it's a void legendary.
Content drop.
So I think I probably was a bit harsh on him when I saw him, mainly because in my head I'm like, I've got 2 Brognies because I have this natural habit of pulling the damn fusion whenever I get one for some reason. So I have 2 Brognies. It's like it's not really going to replace Brogni because Brogni's a superior champion for that purpose. I've got a Sylar, I've got better decrease accuracies. Like if you think like someone was saying, well, what about Iragoth, Eternal Dragon? I was like, well, yeah, but you could run Padma with high resist, and then you've got your decrease accuracy. So I don't know. I was a bit like, I like his A2. I think his A3 is a bit pointless. Perfect Veil, okay, it's nice. Like it's designed to obviously target the Torment head, but why bring Veil when you can just bring Shamael? Okay, and I don't have him. If you don't have Shamael, I get that, but then you could just run to Hanorach.
Yeah, because
it's more reliable. Because you've got to rely on that Veil being available when you need it to be up, and it's not going to be 100% uptime unless you're in. So if you don't have a way to cleanse the fear, you have to have 100% uptime of Veil. He'll never have that, so he can never attack the Torment head at all. Otherwise, he'll always get feared. But you also then need to bring a buff extender, and then you also need to make sure nobody outruns the buffs with extra turns. So it just becomes extremely complex to run a Veil champion when you could literally just run to Hanorach, Doom Priest, Shamael, and just forget about the fear.
I mean, I still feel that off the bat, looking at the champion, he's better than Pixniel was.
Of course.
He's not, a Torment off the bat.
How many books is he gonna require?
Oh, hundreds. Of course
that is the problem. If he needs 15 to 20 books, I guarantee you he'll become a Vault Lord for a lot of players. Because they won't, unless they need the block buffs, they won't want to invest because it's just too much. Pixniel's a great champion now. She gets a lot of hate, but the change,
debatable.
She's actually a very good champion. She's a 2-turn block, increased defense with continuous heals on a 3-turn cooldown. The 50% to remove the freeze is actually a pretty good odds now. It's not bad. It works more often than not. Where before it was like so low, it was forgettable.
Yeah.
And her A3 is a 5-hitter. So for something like a clan boss, if you needed someone, she'll hit much harder than you would think because it's multiple hits on a single target. She's very good for Ice Golem. It's just you can't use her because it's so many books to invest in a champion that is very nichey.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean she's a bad champion. It just means the books makes her unusable, which is a shame. and that is my position. I would use her in Ice Golem if I didn't have to burn 18 legendary books. But because I have to burn that many books, I'm never going to use her. Simple. It's just, you find another way. Find an epic that you can use epic books on instead.
Yeah.
So that would be the question.
I think, though, overall, just looking at him, he's definitely a fusion that's worth going.
Everyone should go for him.
Yeah.
And obviously, we've got epics. Yeah. And in the last fusion, the epic pool was immense. You know, Demitha,
that's very
probably
true,
the best clan boss champion they've added in such a long time. Thalesia, very, very strong champion in many different areas of the game and could be used completely unbooked, which is nice. Very rare that you find a champion that can work 100% completely unbooked. And we also had the Scabrius, which is a nice damage dealer, I guess, and a reviver for Demon Spawn, where if you didn't have a Duchess, you didn't have a reviver, right? So it helps with faction wars. So the fact it's going to be a traditional fusion with rares as well. Some of the rares that we had in previous fusion actually are better than a lot of people give credit for. If you think in the Infinity comp, Hellborn was a fusion rare. I think the other one I'm thinking of is Assassin for Shadowkin, actually pretty good. Gives some poisons, gives some extensions. So sometimes I think the rares, because we have all these epics and legendaries, get a little bit forgotten, but they're not terrible. There's actually one that will cover in the Hydra video that I'll be recording that I didn't cover in my first one that I found since that I think is actually very good for Hydra, and it's another rare from a fusion. So yeah, I think the fusion, guys. Yeah, I think
he's full of spoilers and little teasers today, isn't he?
I am. I was up all night last night thinking about different things I need to cover in this video, and it might have to be 2 because there's so many things that are that we're learning about Hydra in the last couple of days, plus the Christmas fusion, plus everything else coming out. It's kind of been a crazy month for Raid for us to keep up with, and it's actually not been a great time for us to do it either. With Hellhades moving, he's probably pulling his hair out, not being able to record anything. And we've been obviously trying to manage all of our projects whilst also keeping up with all of the updates that are coming out of Raid. You know, if you think in the space of a month, we've had dupe system, a bunch of new champions, another Christmas fusion with probably more champions on top of that, and Hydra.
Yeah.
I've not known a time in Raid with so much content.
It's nuts, isn't it?
It is crazy.
I kind of love it, though. It keeps us busy. It gives us something to do. And, you know, I think I said it back in September that there was like that period around September every year where everyone starts complaining we've got nothing to do.
Just and then quiet, doesn't it?
And then Christmas hits and suddenly we've got too much to do. Yeah. But yeah,
right at the time you're doing your account rebuild as well, which is a bit of a nightmare for you, probably. Because every plan you probably had the last couple of weeks is now, but what about
Lydia.
Hydra?
I got Lydia, so I'm like a real player now.
You actually stopped I don't know, dragging your feet.
I've been sat on Faction Wars for so long, and it's just like, you know, I just bit the bullet and actually geared the champions and did it. But yeah, so that's actually one of the video sort of series that I'm going to be putting out on this channel. So my account, though it has potential to do a lot in the game, I've kind of neglected it, I guess, for the past year or so.
It's below fiction level now.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely on par with fiction level. But the thing is, I finally got around to doing Faction Wars, and to actually achieve that, I destroyed most of my builds in the game. So I am going to be rebuilding my account from square one. So the goal was to, and probably still is, to actually unequip everything on my account and work through almost like a priority list of where you want to sort of focus your best gear in the game into each things. The only thing that I'm slightly hesitant on touching is my clan boss team, because I run Bat Eater, and it's just so simple. You literally just press auto.
Changes the world.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
See if you go in today's polls, if you're pulling voids.
No, I didn't. I already did today, and I got nothing. I only had 5, so
fair enough.
So I couldn't expect anything.
So it'd be a good series for people to watch, essentially, if they're in a position where they've gone sort of transitioned from mid game into late game, just picking up Lydia, and now kind of in that position of, I want to improve.
What do you do now?
Or basically set teams for specific purposes, like, you know, I want a faster dragon, I want a faster finite, I want a faster ice golem, I want maybe, I don't know, faster Doom Tower wave management bosses. So it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
It's gonna be fun.
So
And
I can roast you, really.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be pulling in. This isn't something that I'm gonna be doing on my own. I'm going to be pulling in help from other members of the community to give me the best possible outcome for my account.
See if we can get you like fiction level +1.
Yeah. What the goal is that next time Hellhades actually goes on my account, he doesn't roast me for being too busy to actually play the game. Which is,
is that what we're calling it? Is that the definition of fiction level? Too busy that I can't gear my champions correctly.
Well, what was it? A year or two? It's nearly 2 years ago that I started working with Hellhades, which just
kind of mental. That
uses the hell out of me. When I think about it.
You only just met him last week or the week
before.
Yeah.
First time we actually met face to face. But yeah,
I would like to put a disclaimer to the English population that me coming to England for the first time in like 2 years I did not cause the whole Omicron.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're all going into lockdown now.
Okay, so I'm not to blame for bringing all the restrictions that Wales have to England. I want to put that out there publicly as a statement that it is not my fault.
I tell you what, it's great.
I didn't bring the storm either. I didn't mess up the Christmas party, honestly.
It's actually great that we did the Christmas party in November, because now they're all getting cancelled. And I know we timed it because it was with Hellhades' house move. But it was a great night out, and I think I took about 3 or 4 days to recover from the sheer. Yeah. Well, you say that. I think Jack and Luke were fine. And it's like the rest of us.
Even so, the ages get. Well, the thing is, they're younger than us. That's the thing.
Exactly.
We're getting older now. Can't really do the whole, stay out all night partying and then wake up the next day. It's like 2 days later, I finally start to feel human again.
I think it was the next day. So technically 2 days after the party, Hellhades messaged me, and he's like, I just feel like I'm about to be get ill.
Yeah.
But when you're coming down with a cold, and he's like, I feel like I'm like on the brink of getting a cold. It's like, dude, I know exactly what you're saying, because I feel the same.
The worst one for me is I was thinking, did I get COVID when I was in Ashford?
Yeah.
Did I? And I was like, no, I just drank way too much.
Yeah.
I was up way too late, and I drove way too much. Those 3 things combined was not.
Yeah, body destroyed. Yeah. We need some days to recover.
And it was just like, let's just not push it for a couple of days, and which is actually good timing, because as I said, if we tried to do this around Hydra, it would have been an absolute nightmare.
It just wouldn't have.
So.
And everyone would have been stressing about the fact that we've got loads to go back to, and as well as that, it was a quiet time, a quiet weekend for the community.
The calm before, I would say the calm before the storm, but the storm happened at the same time. But yeah. Effectively, it was the calm before the storm that was coming with raid and stuff. So it was good. It was good to meet everyone. It was even if the drive home took an excessive amount of time.
Yeah, it was fun. It's an adventure, and we now have stories to tell. So.
Indeed.
But yeah, we'll wrap up the podcast there, guys, because Hellhades actually just messaged me saying that his cable has arrived and he needs a hand setting up his camera. So I'm going to jump off and do that. So that
it goes where the cable goes into the mic.
Well,
and then you plug it in, and then you press go.
It's setting up his autofocus and stuff like that, so that he looks beautiful on stream. So I'm going to jump off and go help him do that. For everyone who only tunes in for the podcast, which I think is probably rare on our channel, thank you so much for listening to us for the past 6-7 months. We will be back in January, second week of January, with a bigger, better production of this podcast. And in the meantime, please do subscribe to the channel, like us on social medias and stuff like that. It just helps us keep growing and keep doing this for you guys every single week. But until then, have a great Christmas and a happy New Year, and we'll see you in another video very soon.